This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
I don't know. Why would they sit there and watch us talk into microphones and look at each other and look at your faces that you give me sometimes?
And co-host Marnie Winfield.
In situations like that, if you take the time to weigh the pros and cons of your involvement in something, I think this is across the board with a lot of things in life. You know, does it make sense for me in my world?
Ask myself that every morning when I wake up. It is the 3rd of February, year 2022. My name is Corey Winfield.
My name is Marnie Winfield.
And our guest today is Laura Conrad. Laura.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Corey.
Thank you, Marnie. Weeks ago and you blew me off.
Well, when? What are you?
A few weeks ago and you just blew me off.
Yeah, he dragged me here. He didn't pay enough. Just so you know, you can get paid for this, people.
Then you got COVID.
Yes.
And
I got the Ronas.
Hey, I'm not going to bring it up there because I like Marnie. And
yeah, I really care for you, Marnie.
Aw, see?
Again, Corey.
Yeah, again, I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's good. We're in a good spot.
I do so much. And yeah, it's funny because I just picked that open and we had just got done talking about having people come in the studio and watch us do the podcast. And I was thinking like it'd be a great idea like to auction that off, like a chance to like come into the studio and camp out and just watch.
You just want somebody to clean the litter box.
I do. And that's when they would realize, oh my God, what did I just win?
Yeah.
What, I won this? Oh, great. Sounds wonderful. And then we play that and I was like, oh, that's kind of fitting because why would people come, why would people watch us? And we need to get back to doing that again.
People watching you or just the video?
Just the video of people watching us, but not that kind of video, if you know what I'm saying.
I'm sure you might have one or two people out there with binoculars checking you out.
Maybe our studio it's on a eighth story building floor, high rise.
It is. It's beautiful.
I always
here.
leave the curtains open. People
Beautiful
can see
view.
right in.
Yes, they can.
On the veranda.
Traffic out there. You can see all the cars. Aren't they so small?
They are. Look at those tiny little specks out there on the water.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It was like that when I worked in Dallas. We'd look out the window and the cars look so small. And I'm like, there was so many of them. I was like, at least one person's listening to me out there.
Oh.
My mom.
Yeah.
She was online listening. Not any of those cars were probably.
No, probably not.
Oh, I was counting on my mama.
Yep, still to this day.
Laura, you look beautiful today.
Thank you.
Just throw that out there. Laura, you look nice outfit today.
Thank you.
Laura always looks good.
Oh, you guys are so sweet.
But you were battling the COVIDs though, for real. But you had the weak version of it.
I had the Omnicorn or whatever the hell it's called. Yeah, and it's like
Omicron,
yeah. Omicron. I had that, which, I was vaxxed and boosted and all the things. I even survived a trip to Florida without getting it. But came back to the northern Michigan parts, and it was all crazy in Benzie County, and my roommate contracted it, and then I got it, and, now I'm feeling better, actually feeling like myself.
Yeah, I know how that goes when your roommate gets it and then brings it back to you, and it's just like, oh, man.
I know, it's exhausting.
There's nothing that you did.
It's nothing really she did either. I mean, it's kind of everywhere. I've known more people in the last 3 weeks that have had COVID than collectively throughout this whole experience. And I know a lot of people that have had it. Mm-hmm. So it's just, if anything, I just feel relief that I've got it. And at least subconsciously, I've been feeling fear for, since March 2020. So I'm blessed that it wasn't bad and I'm over it. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you at any time... Well, you only had to do a week or something?
I had to do 5 days in isolation, but I waited the full 10 before I saw my daughter just to, be careful.
And how much recovery time do you have?
5.5 years.
Okay. Any thought of, I could go out and drink today. Nobody's going to know because I have COVID and I'm supposed to isolate and...
No.
I'm going to get a bottle today.
No, I had COVID. I didn't want to drink. I was sick. And even so much, there were, at first, I wasn't having a ton of symptoms other than a sore throat. But, whether it's having to isolate from COVID or being by myself and being left to my own devices, I mean, honestly, the idea of going to drink is not even, it's not even on there.
Right.
I just had to ask you, throw it out there, because I know a lot of people, and even when they're feeling better, they can still use hold on, I have COVID still.
Yeah.
And you can always change the dates and.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm still gotta isolate. You can't come over today.
Yeah. I don't know if people have done that.
Oh, absolutely they have. People have done a lot of things. And I can tell you, Marnie can tell you anyway, that I think people are pretty bad. And I make up scenarios. I'm like, oh, no, someone has done that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, what is your mind going? I'm like, no, someone has.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's sexual things. A lot of times it is. And I'm like, no, someone has done that. She's like, honey, no.
No, that's illegal in 19 states.
Someone's done it. But no, it's not. People have, and I know it for a fact, actually, because I know people who have, they...
I guess at the same time, I know I didn't need an excuse to drink. If I did need to find one, I say it's a day that ends in Y.
Mm-hmm. But for people in early recovery, that's something that's very challenging. And
yes.
If they get COVID, I don't know what advice I would give someone, because I would say don't be alone, but then you have to be alone.
I think, though, at the same time, I have I know people that have been in early recovery and contracted the coronavirus or the COVIDs or whatever the heck we're calling them these days. I do know that when they are that, it's about having them call. They can still Zoom. They can still do things like that. So it's come in this world that even though we are at home, we don't have to isolate because we have these opportunities. And just to, really, continuing to call every day, check in and see how somebody's doing. At least reminding them that recovery messaging voice, like, hey, this is, a coach or recovery calling. How are you doing today? Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of with anything that we have to look at, like when we isolate and just being able to pivot and work with that. Again, you can use any incidents that you have to, excuse or like, oh, this is going on. I can blow that up, Yeah,
I'm just glad that God saved my life before COVID, because I would have been one of those who died.
Yeah.
My family, my mom, she wouldn't have lied about it, because some people are out there like, oh, COVID got him. Yeah. I mean, technically, COVID kind of would have gotten me, but I didn't die from COVID. I would have died from alcohol. I
would like to see the statistics of all the people that have died from COVID because of COVID that never contracted it. Mm-hmm. I mean, like the suicide numbers. Mm-hmm. If you just look at overdose deaths alone. So in 2019, there was, I think, this is a rough guesstimation from the statistics, I think it was 72,000 overdose deaths. 2020, there were 97,000 overdose deaths. This is from drugs. Mm-hmm. By the end of October in 2021, there were 100,000. They didn't even quantify the last 2 months yet, but they knew that already. And the statistics are saying that by the end of 2023, there will be over 350,000 people dead by COVID. By overdose since COVID started. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're working with. Those are the numbers that are being projected. So yes, and I know I have been to a lot of funeral services for people that have committed or died by suicide. It's I would like to see if there was a way to figure out those numbers, which I don't think there is, but I think it's just as every person that has died of COVID, like contracting it, I think there's at least one person that, whether it's, with their mental health, mm-hmm. their substance use disorder, a combination of that, I think we've seen a skyrocket in this. I mean, and if you just look at the need for services right now, I mean, it's a waiting list to get in anywhere, not just because that, we can't do in person, we have telehealth, but there's not enough people. And there's, to serve all of this, there's not enough grant funding to hire the people, the wages they deserve to do this work.
Amen.
Yeah. And so you have all this combination that's going on, and so it's, COVID's really scary. I remember at the beginning of when COVID happened, and we were about a week and a half in, and it was kind of like, what do we do? How do we do this? And I was talking to one of my fellows in recovery. And I said to her, I said, this is going to be a really great character building time. She says, make no bones about this, Laura, it's character testing. Our character is going to be tested in ways none of us have ever seen in recovery. Because even we haven't had this big, huge virus, maybe the Spanish flu, but that was before, AA was even started. So what, as a recovery community, this is the things that we have to have faced. I do see, though, being character building. Not saying that people that can't get recovery lack character. I'm not saying that. I think it's people with recovery that have this recovery, even long-term recovery, is their character that they have created for themselves since that it's been put to a test, because, hey, guess what? You have to isolate from everybody. Mm-hmm. Hey, guess what? Like, especially Benzie County, the government told you that you had to stay home. So basically, you can stay home and chill and watch Netflix. And the only delivery service last year in Benzie County was for marijuana. We don't even have like pizza delivery. But hey, we'll bring you marijuana to your house. So it's kind of like, this is like, okay, I'm just doing what the government tells me to do because all of this is legal. And it's like, okay, so how do we, even though, they say we can do this and this is legal, or how does that really come up with my values, in my recovery values, And I think that there's been a lot of that. I've seen so much strength and resilience. I have seen people that have gotten sober because they realized with the pandemic, being trapped at home, isolating, it escalated stuff. They were scared about it. It's a whole different dynamic to the recovery field in the substance use disorder. So it's been fascinating to be part of watching this and also working in this field as it's shifting every single day. Like with Marnie, I mean, every day, are we in person? Are we not in person? Right. What goes with this? What happens with this? How do we facilitate this? And what's hybrid? Mm-hmm. These words that 2 years ago would be like, what the hell are you talking about? Zoom. What? Now it's like, oh yeah, I Zoom. Yeah. I do the Zoomies. So it's interesting to be part of this and to watch this, not just as the sidelines, being an active participant in the behavioral health realm. So it's something else.
And the Zoom offers a lot. I know Marnie loves it. You have classes that
facilitate.
Facilitate. Yeah, facilitate. Mm-hmm. Such big words. Like
facilitate.
Your wife is a facilitator.
Yeah, I'm on one today. How'd you sleep last night? Was it good?
Oh, dude, not this good.
Wait, what are you talking about? Anyway, yeah. Sorry.
I guess change was facilitated last night.
Facilitation. It's got me all.
Can we stop making facilitate
I
a
like
dirty
cookies
word?
And ice cream. Just kind of drive the bus over there real quick. Just cookies and ice cream. So back to COVID and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zoom really helps. Some people are, I hate it, love it, whatever. But everything in life, and especially in recovery, is what you make it.
Yes.
You can hate going to treatment. You can love going to treatment. You can love meetings. You can hate meetings. You show up at a meeting, all grumpy ass. Well, guess what? You're probably not going to like that meeting.
Yeah.
And if you show up with a positive attitude of, all right, I'm here. This is great. I don't know what's going to happen or what I'm going to talk about, but this is wonderful. You show up with the attitude of, oh my God, I'm going to go on and on and on and on and on and get the stuff off my chest. Good. Get it off your chest. That helps you. So just keep that in mind when you're like, oh, I hate Zoom. Because you know what? I don't mind it personally. And they don't have to. The people are like, oh, I hate it. They don't have to hate it.
Yeah.
Find a different room.
Absolutely.
I tell people, find a different city that you've never been to. Find someone I told this one guy, I was like, I'm sure in Miami, find some meetings. But there's some hot chicks in there. I don't know if there are or not.
I'm so glad that you're promoting 13 steps outside of this area.
Thank you.
Sorry, women of Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Turn your cameras off your Zoom.
No tabla or I don't even know how to
Please,
say that. Please,
just stop.
No habla español.
Well, Zoom is just so available, and it's changed everything because it will never go away.
Yeah.
And that is something, because when COVID first hit, that was that we had a whole podcast about that. We're like, this is not good for the recovery community.
Yeah.
Like, we are told isolation is bad.
Yeah.
And here we are being told straight up, isolate.
And if you're out on the road and you don't have the certificate to say that you can be out on the road,
yeah.
then
I
you might
remember
get
that.
a ticket. I mean, that's craziness.
Yeah.
I mean, that was not that long ago.
No, it wasn't.
You know, I think that the interesting part about Zoom, because Zoom was around before, and online meetings were around before. And I remember being in a mutual aid support group for recovery, and people that had a lot of years talking about like, that's not real recovery online. You have to be in person. And immediately when COVID hit, it was, you know, the young people that knew this technology. And I remember they were before COVID, the people that had lots of years would ask me like, that's not a real meeting. It's like, well, some people like that because they can have their camera off. They can see what's going on. They can have that anonymity. But as soon as, you know, the pandemic started and we're on shutdown, I think it was some places within 6 days they were on Zoom. And it just like, how quickly. And that's the thing too, the resilience of the recovery community to adapt and pivot. Okay, there's a hole. What do we need to do to fill it? There's isolation with everybody. What do we need to do to fill it? Do it this way. And you know, too, with the Zooms, what's nice about it is, you know, I mean, even Corey, when you did that training that I facilitated for you, that was outside of Detroit with FAN. You know, we had people from, there was one woman from Toledo, I believe. There were people from Northern Michigan. And how can you find a space where everybody can comfortably arrive, you know, leaving their homes, quote unquote, like to go to this training and go back to their homes at such a different distance.
Right.
It's amazing how it's brought people together. You know, and then you get that like, oh, training on Zoom is, you know, it's better in person. A lot of things are better in person. Pivot, accept it, move on. Let's do what we got to do.
I thought it was better online, actually.
Some of the trainings that I have done online, I really enjoy it. I do enjoy that. Granted, that being said, I haven't even done a training in person. So I don't even know what to compare that to. I've taken trainings in person. I've actually taken a training in person since I did about December. And it was weird because everybody still had to be 6 feet distanced from each other. And every time you got to get up, you had, you know, put your mask on and things of that nature. And you couldn't hear the facilitator in some of the places in the room. And there was no group activity. You couldn't get together at a table to do. So it's like, I'd rather do this on Zoom, man. At least I can wear pajamas.
Right.
You just, that's what's nice about it.
Be nice and comfy.
Yes.
But now they are opening things back up, and you just went, and you said this earlier, to Florida.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yes. I went to, I had quite an honor to be able to go to the National Recovery Conference, that's put on by CCAR every year, kind of like the Super Bowl event. It was scheduled for October. So they shifted it to January because they were having COVID outbreaks in Florida at the time. And apparently now it's not an issue. There's a lot. Yeah. That's a whole different conversation. So yes, it was rescheduled for January. It was 12th through the 14th in Punta Gorda, Florida, and I was able to go, and it was amazing to be. First of all, when I left and got on the airplane, it was 4 degrees outside, and I was terrified we weren't going to be able to take off because it was a snowstorm, and that was interesting. And then you touch down and it's like really warm and people are like, it's kind of cold. I said, you have double digits. There's no snow. Ice can't form out of the air. It's much better from where I left. So that was really nice. Being able to see palm trees and sand and water. I saw dolphins. I saw a pelican fight.
Nice.
It was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
The basketball team?
Yes. They were just out on the boardwalk like, yeah.
Out of control.
They were fighting with the Utah Jazz.
In Florida.
In Florida, it was great.
Weird.
It was great. Then the Harlem Globetrotters came and stole all the balls, hockey pucks.
Wow. So you didn't do any drugs down there, though?
No, I didn't. But there was one restaurant where you could get like a sushi roll with kratom in it.
Okay.
They had all these kratom sushi roll specials. I'm like, only in Florida. It was very interesting. Yeah, that was something.
Did I know that kratom doesn't taste good?
It didn't occur to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neither does a lot of sushi, so.
Yeah, kratom did nothing for me. I thought it was a scam. But I think if you're an opiate user, I think that it might work for you. There's something there. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. All I know is I can tell you that it didn't do shit for me. I tried everything to help my back. Didn't do anything. Nothing. I was like, first of all, it tastes like crap. It's a bunch of ground up leaves. Like, why am I doing the wash and toss here? Like, I can take all of that and it will do nothing. And then I've seen shows and different things about it. And this one guy, I swear, he was more addicted to the thought of getting it. Just I got to get up every day and I ride my bike there. That's the first thing I do. It he just became addicted to the whole getting on his bike and going to get some more before they run out. It was a rush.
Yeah.
Instead of going to get his heroin, he was getting his kratom.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like that really became the thing, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that either. So back to Florida.
Back to Florida.
You were there for 2 whole days?
No, I was actually there. I flew in the night of the 10th and I left the afternoon of the 14th. Nice. So I got 4.5 days down there. It's pretty nice. I got there a day early before the conference, which was nice, just to get a lay of the land and, be able to kind of take a deep breath before all of the stuff was about to happen.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did your work pay for it?
Yes.
Yes. I was getting ready to hit that wah, wah, wah.
No.
I was like, which one's it going to be?
I can't afford Florida. Nice. I'm a peer recovery coach. I can barely make rent.
That's cool. And they pay for it probably out of a grant, because that's the big thing is training people.
Yeah, it's also just to get the advocacy out there. And I honestly think that anybody that's in recovery needs to go to one of these events. It was amazing, So it was put on by CCAR. And for those that do not know who CCAR is at home, CCAR is a community or Connecticut Community of Addiction Recovery. And in 2012, they started the peer recovery coach training. And it was amazing that they started this, and now in every 50 states it's recognized. In a lot of the states, you have to take the CCAR training before you can do anything else. So it's pretty popular as far as, very quickly, because it was 10 years ago now. Not even. So that's pretty awesome. Like this year's 10 years. So that's pretty awesome to be there. And also just see all the other things that they do, that they brought in, and the people they were able to bring in was amazing. And it was supposed to be, the event was supposed to be on the multiple pathways. I don't know what happened there, but it wasn't a lot about the multiple pathways. Again, it was a postponed. I believe a lot of the speakers that were supposed to speak in October could not come. It was a little disjointed as a normal conference would go. However, it was exactly perfect the way it was supposed to be. And so it started off, on Wednesday morning. They would do the first speaker. Everybody's a little timid, like, okay, we're all in here. How's it going to go? And within 96 seconds, she's, just being like, all right, fuck this. I'm just going to do this, pivot. And everybody in the room took this collective breath, like, okay, good. We're not doing that to pretend that we've never sworn in our lives, especially with most of the people in the room are people in recovery. Mm-hmm. And there was something that really struck me to be so evident going in there or being there is how everybody was treated like a resource. It did not matter what your position, who you worked for, what your recovery status was. Everybody asked you, who are you? Why are you here? How can we help you? What do you need? Every conversation. I realized that those were the questions I was asking other people, where I was like, I'm just going to arrive at this event. But it was just this collective recovery community. And it was like a breath of fresh air. These are my people. Professionally, it doesn't matter if they work for federal agencies or federal programs or they've done all this cool stuff. It doesn't matter. We're here because of recovery and what recovery, how hard it was to obtain recovery, to be in recovery, and celebrate what recovery has given us. And it was really amazing to be in that space. As I said, every single person that's in recovery, I hope they get an opportunity to go to the event, one of these conferences, because it was just really cool.
Sounds amazing.
Is that just the CCAR conferences or just any recovery conference in general?
Well, this is pretty much the biggest conference every year because it's the National Recovery Conference. So it was pretty big as far as, granted, there weren't a ton of people there, but for the recovery world, it was huge.
Yeah, the woman, I don't remember her name right now. I've just been looking for it. So I was gonna act like I was gonna name drop. Oh, the Davis, Kathy Davis, is that who it is? Yeah. I was gonna be like that, but was it Kristen Harper? I don't know. I got a list of names.
Oh,
here.
it's from Faces and Voices?
No, well, yeah, she is, but
I have a picture of her and me on the phone.
oh my God, now you're name dropping.
I know. I'm picture dropping.
Playing my game.
Yeah, she was one of the first people I met there. She's a doll. I really enjoyed spending time with her.
Oh, do you know Chandra Monnet?
No.
Might have been her. Well, the lady, the reason I'm mentioning this is CCAR. I think what they do is wonderful, and what they've done, I think, is wonderful, and to kind of take the lead in such a small state.
Yeah.
Because Connecticut's a little tiny.
Well, they were connected with Boston University and Boston Hospital.
And I know what people say about people over there on that side of the earth, of the world.
They're wicked awesome.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
they got the money.
Yeah.
And they got the politicians, and they got that stuff. And, hey, it is what it is, man. But at least they did something.
They have a voice. They have a great voice, and they're able to use that. And they have people that listen.
I'm just talking about that part of the world. But
Yeah.
then CCAR, boom, pops along, and
Yeah.
and they have this great training and stuff, and this movement to train people because they get it, and you and I both were in recovery, and it does make a difference when you talk to somebody. And I'm not saying anything bad about therapists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My therapist isn't a drug counselor.
Yeah.
She's just a regular therapist, but that's for me is what I need at this point in my life. But just a regular therapist, somebody who's, went to school and learned it all, but they didn't live the experience. I'm not going to have that connection, and they're not going to have empathy with me. They might have sympathy, which isn't what I needed, at the time. But many times I needed empathy. I needed someone to go, I understand, bro. Look, here's what I did. This worked for me. Don't know if it's going to work for you, but I'm just telling you, this is what I did. Give me somebody to look up to, you know, because this person, I know that they've went through everything. And when I tell them that, the shaking, when I'm talking about it and they're looking at me and they're shaking their head, I know that they know.
Absolutely. It's, it's one thing when I talk about how people that are in recovery, and I'm also including the family members that are in recovery from, their loved ones as well in this, when I say this, but you can watch the movies about addiction. You can read all the books. You can do all the things. Unless you have had that experience of what it really feels like, looks like, smells like, tastes like, everything, you don't have the wisdom. We as coaches, and we, not just as coaches, but we, though, who are in recovery, we have the wisdom of addiction. Not, and we're learning the wisdom of recovery. But because we understand, we can look somebody in the eye and be like, hey, I remember kept on I would have to drink a half a pint of Southern Comfort to get out of bed every morning just to be normal. And I can say that to somebody that is just going nuts, I remember this. I know how it feels. I know how scared dope sickness looks too. And it's I'm not alone in this. It's no.
Yeah, I think that really makes a difference. And for them to catch on and realize, hey, these are the people we need out there.
Yeah.
Meeting people where they're at.
Yes.
I used air quotes there. But
it's
great, and
it's amazing.
I love them for that. And the lady we're a recovery community organization, 217 Recovery is, and these meetings that they have online.
What's 217?
217 Recovery.
Yeah, what is that?
It's an organization. They're based in Traverse City, Michigan. They help people in
I know where
recovery.
that is.
Yeah, they got a website, do an app, or they have an app, and then they do a podcast.
An app? They must be legit.
They have the most podcasts that talk about recovery out of anybody on the earth.
What?
Yeah.
That's insanity. You should start working for them, Corey. Maybe they can teach you something.
I know. I think I know the executive director guy. But no, she was very cool though. The lady from CCAR, and it's just I thought here she is, and she's from this organization, and probably like it's probably what people think about me. They think, man, this guy's so huge and famous and stuff, and
He should work for 217.
and then I talked to him. He was so damn cool, and like, wow, I didn't know he'd be so awesome. Like, he's a real person. But that's how the woman from CCAR was. She was just down to earth, and she didn't have a big ego. She was just like, hey guys, what's up? And I'm like, man, I expected her to be like,
Totally.
I'm a prude and I'm better than all of you. And
Yes.
she wasn't. She was very cool.
That's what I expected, I think. Not just the prudish, but just like, I am the authoritative figure on this.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to sit here and listen to this. It was nothing like that. That's, again, I wasn't treated as an object or a recipient of this wonderful information. I was treated as a resource. We were encouraged to ask questions. We were encouraged to talk about. We were asked, again, like I said, asked to talk about ourselves. So it was unlike anything I've ever seen before, especially when a group of people that I think that a lot of stuff that I know personally I'm in recovery from is my own ego. And being in a room where people were checking that, and it wasn't about status. It was like, hey, brother, hey, sister, what are you doing for the movement? Let's talk about it.
And it's funny you should mention that because, well, let's talk about it.
Yes, let's talk about the movement and what the movement is. Yes, nice segue there, Corey. I appreciate you very much. It's like
the big bucks.
Again, you really should work for that 217 guy. Apparently, he has sweatshirts though with his profile and glitter on the back of it. It's a little strange.
That's how you know you made it.
Yeah, I guess so. When you're glittered on the back of a shirt, and it's not even like his face. It's just his profile, which is
That's sweet.
It is. Yeah, you should probably look into stealing something like that. Back to the movement.
Yes.
Being at the conference and, having these questions again, what are we doing for the movement? Well, what does the movement include? And there was 3 points that were, with all the speakers had addressed at some point on, if it's just 30 seconds or they spent their entire workshop or the breakout session that we did with them. But the 3 things was the need to end mass incarceration. Because you can't incarcerate a disease, and showing what that does, and talking about the end of privatized prisons and what we can do to help with that, and as things go in each of your states and federally, and a lot of I realize that a lot of the programs we are doing in Northern Michigan are helping to do that. Now we have people in jails. We are allowed at least Vivitrol in almost every jail in Northern Michigan for a medical assistant treatment. So there is a lot of progress with it. And just kind of more, where do we take that? And how COVID, again, the conversation of COVID, has stinted so much the recovery in the prisons because, with the outbreaks, not having people to be able to meet, not having outside people coming in to facilitate meetings. Mm-hmm. So just kind of like the things that we can do on that aspect. The second thing that they talked about, which is, a personal passion of mine, is recovery messaging. How we as a recovery community, the ending of stigma and shame, and adopting recovery positive messaging. And it's radical for some people, but the term alcoholic or addict, in a mutual support group, or if I'm at a 12-step group or any mutual support group, I could say, hey, my name is Laura, I'm an alcoholic, or hey, my name's Laura, I'm an addict. And those 2 things are true. I do know, though, it's important, if I'm going to say these things about myself, and I give permission for other people to say these things about me, I'm playing into the stigma and the shame.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because as where I was with my drinking would be, I wasn't homeless. I wasn't under a bridge. I wasn't hobo drunk. I wasn't selling my body as an addict. I didn't have needles sticking out of my arm, passing out. I didn't have that image. And what that does to somebody that wants to get into treatment, if they can't even recognize that they have a disorder or have a problem because they're not being represented. So, back to, and even if when I'm in those mutual support groups, I say now that my name is Laura, I have a substance use disorder. More specifically, I have an opiate use disorder and an alcohol use disorder. and what the power in those languages, what we can do to change, at least start a conversation. What are you talking about? Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Let me educate you. That's the big A advocacy. They talk about it in the CCAR training, that when I advocate on behalf of a client, it's a little a advocacy. But when I'm advocating on the behalf of a recovery community, it's the big A advocacy. And how we really should never take off that big A advocacy if this is what we're passionate about, to help push this more into the future, like what's future it's going to look like, where substance use disorder is. Hey, maybe if we do these things, 350,000 people aren't going to have to die in a 3.5 year period from a drug overdoses. So that was really important, in talking about having that recovery message across the board. So if there's somebody in a treatment center in California and somebody that is at a mutual support group on the East Coast, they're using terms like substance use disorder, alcohol use disorder. And also when you're doing advocacy as far as making governmental change, how you say those things. And so if you go into an office in California, let's say, to advocate to a federal congressman about a certain bill that affects recovery. If there's somebody in Michigan that goes into their senator's office to do the same thing, it's the same message. Substance use disorder, recovery, no longer using the word abuse, which I mean, honestly, I've never abused drugs and alcohol. I took such good care of them. They're like one of the only things in life that I consistently took great care of.
You drank responsibly, just like they told you to.
I did not. I drank with love and care for what I was drinking. And, it's just, I've never abused that. What I say is alcohol abuse. I mean, even now is when somebody leaves a half a drink on a table. I'm like, that's alcohol abuse right there. How I used alcohol and drugs, I misuse them. And we can go into the whole chemistry and all that, like surrounding why that is. But the research has shown that this is the things that we have to do. The third thing that they were talking about is social justice reform. And they're not talking just about the outside of the recovery community, is what we, to help to have inclusion and how to recognize our privilege and how to recognize what privileges we have, what privileges we don't have, and how we can close that gap. But not just outside recovery, but inside the recovery community, because there are so much disparities. For instance, if I have a resource to give somebody, if they don't have private insurance, I don't give it to them because public insurance won't pay for it. Right. That's a disparity. That's a privilege to have private insurance. If I don't recognize that privilege, I'm going to hurt somebody. I'm going to give them the wrong resource, and they're like, hey, Medicaid won't take it. Like, oh, yeah, that's right, because you're poor.
Yeah.
You're irresponsible because you have to be on Medicaid. Like, all of those messages can come through. And so, because drug overdoses and alcohol overdose deaths are going down in the white community, but they're spiking within the Latino community and the Black community. Those numbers have kept on going up every single year, while the numbers were going down as a whole in the United States. But that is, we have to address these things. And, there definitely some really powerful talks that some people that maybe hear the word privilege and balk at it would probably be like, oh, this is horrific. Why are you doing this to me? Because they would, I'm trying to be nice here. They wouldn't do well in those conversations. However, it wasn't about if you can handle this information or not. I think everybody was at that same spot that we can talk about race. We can talk about privilege. And race was brought up by every single speaker, whether you were a woman, whether you were a person of color, whether you were a man, whatever it was, everybody talked about social justice, race, all the isms, racism, genderism, sexism, all of that. And it was nice to hear that message, that repeated over. The last thing, so those are the three things that they talked about, which were, it really got me thinking, what can we do? What can we do to promote recovery messaging? What can we do to help end mass incarcerations? What can we do for social justice reform? How does that look? And there were some answers to that, but that was also like, go back to your communities and talk with them. see what the communities want, see how we can help with inside those communities, because that's where a lot of it changes, is from the smaller communities will start to make it bigger. But also at the same time advocating at the, at these levels with these messages, with these advocacy. The best thing I heard, and this was Dr. Hander, who was an amazing speaker. He talked a lot about social justice reform. He was saying in his speech, he's like, it's no longer not about us without us as a recovery community. It's no longer now we as a recovery community have a seat at the big boys table or the big girls table or whatever the table is. Now it's, hey, guess what? We have our own motherfucking table. We're going to invite you to come sit down with us. And that was amazing to hear. And you could feel that in the room, that like I still get, I'm just even saying, I get a little bit of goosebumps because it's like, yes, we have created a table. We've at least created stadium fulls of dead people from drug and alcohol overdoses. Right? Now people are recovering and say all those people died. We don't want to see this for our next generations. We don't want to see this for our peers. What can we do? This is what we're doing to help that. So yeah, we've built this motherfucking table. And yeah, it's not only we invite you to sit down with us, but who are you? Are you worthy of that invite?
So how do we do it all? Like the
magic.
The social justice, like changing that is something that I personally think is huge and will be huge when it does happen, because part of that, part of the stuff that we help with, people transportation, just because a person has insurance doesn't mean they have safe transportation to treatment, and yet, like the PIHPs, nope, they won't cover it because, well, they have their own insurance, so we can't help them with this part, which they are struggling to even come to the table to follow the contract that they signed with Medicaid as far as transportation goes,
Yeah. And it's so hard to get a medical through Medicaid to get a transport. It's very, very hard to do. It's come a little bit easier in the last couple of years, but it's also extremely difficult to do.
If you're going to a doctor, it can be done. It's easy. You call your insurance. And, like up here, it's different. It's a few days before you need to go to your appointment, but they can do that. But as far as the treatment, it clearly states they will not take you to treatment.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand. I know why. I've taken people to treatment that have been completely just gone. And it's scary at times.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people that will drive for those other places, they're not prepared for this.
No.
They will quit their job.
Absolutely.
They will be like, this is not what I signed up for, and so I totally understand, and just throwing somebody on a bus, and that doesn't work. And you got to think what kind of position.
Well, you look at where the bus stops are.
Yeah. Liquor stores.
Stores are right
gas
there.
Stations.
Gas stations, all of that.
And it's just horrible. But, the person that is going to treatment, a lot of times withdrawing, they're sad, they're lonely, they're depressed. They have like all these feelings going on. And you're just going to put them in a cab. You're going to send them on a bus. Like, for real? Like, how about we put them with a recovery coach? And that's what we do at 217 Recovery. And they still balk at it. Mid-State Health Network is the worst, that I've come across. They're just like, we don't care. We know better, and it's about fun. We don't have the money. Well, maybe you should fire somebody, because I'm sure one of your salaries there could cover everybody that needed transportation. It doesn't cost that much. Plus what they're spending right now, how many of those bus tickets go unused? How many treatment centers have wasted time and money having somebody wait at the front desk for somebody that's not even going to show up?
Well, I do know personally, too, in some counties where they have contracts with certain people to take people from the jail to treatment.
Oh, you mean Hope Not Handcuffs in 217 Recovery?
No. Other things. I know it's happening. Oh. I'm not going to speak about that on the air because that's just private agency business.
Little People of America.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, it's just come. I don't talk about my job, like the actual jobs that I have here. I just talk about me. I'm representing myself as a recovery advocate, a coach, community organizer, all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I do know that there is a county that has contracted with a certain service to get people from jail. Well, the contract is ridiculous, the amount that they signed for this contract between the county, the Department of Corrections, and this service. It's insane. And what if somebody, and it's happened, absconds and doesn't show up? I mean, like, you have to be in the parking lot. You know, they release you from jail, but you're usually in the parking lot for at least, they're not like waiting outside there. How many people? Like, why are you doing this? And because to do this, they have to have a camera in that vehicle so they can monitor things that are going on. Because, yeah, that's awesome. You know, because it's so humiliating. I think that is the thing. Like, when you are treated this way, like, I'm trying to get help, man. I want to go to treatment. Wait, this is even that harder for me to get to treatment now? You know, because I can't find transportation. And that, again, so much of that goes down at least socioeconomic lines, which you cannot talk about socioeconomics without discussing race and the isms and what is kept out. You know, I am going to say this bold statement that was said, and, you know, viewers at home.
I have listeners, but that's cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump you there, but I had to step in.
There are people that might be actually looking at their device while they're listening to it, so they could be viewing things.
You're right. Okay.
I can justify anything, baby. Rationalization, justification.
All right. So for our viewers.
So, okay, so I'm going to say this to our listeners and or viewers. So when they were talking about a lot of discussions that were happening in Florida, and especially some of these workshops, there was one called Diversity, Bias, and Leadership by Dr. Eddie Moore, and his nickname was Dr. Diversity. He is a black man, and he has recovery himself. He talked about his recovery, talked about what it looked like for him, what it felt like for him, growing up as a person of color, the different areas that he lived, and talking about that. And now he's a doctor in things.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pretty much. He's a doctor in things. But we were talking about like how we talk about how the system is broken. It's not broken. It's who and for it's designed for are straight white Christian males.
Yep.
It works perfectly. Anybody outside that doesn't fit into it, that's why it's broken for them.
Yep.
So what do we do to help advocate? And when you have people, the biggest thing to do with any of these is humanize. Humanize addiction. Humanize recovery. Humanize it. Say, hey, guess what? My name's Laura. I'm a person that has a substance use disorder. I'm in long-term recovery for that. This is what recovery looks like. I went through this, but I was able to do this. And the more people that use their voice, that use their story, that advocate at large, and aren't worried, or I mean, not are willing to be vulnerable. That's a better word. Are willing to be vulnerable. That's what we need to do. Because they can't deny so many people speaking the same language, talking the same stories across race. You know, addiction does not discriminate. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are, how much you have, what you don't have, nothing. It doesn't discriminate. However, there is discrimination when it comes to those that treat addiction, those that write grants for addiction, those that hold the power when it comes to the pharmaceutical companies, to, you know, pharmaceutical reps, to the beer and wine industry, the people that hold that power. There's discrimination. I mean, hey, just look at any of the Sackler papers that have come out from Purdue Pharmaceutical and the things that were said. You know, it was definitely, that's another conversation. But yeah, it was, so that's, the system is designed for heterosexual white Christian males. Good luck if you don't fit into that. So let's start humanizing it, right?
Did you say wealthy? Because there has to be a class in there too, because...
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's definitely classes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just look at if you look at the, history of drug laws in the United States, the first drug law happened in 1870-ish. And it was because of the opium dens that were in San Francisco. They didn't give a fuck that they were having opium dens. They wanted the Chinese out. They came over here to build railroads. They succeeded, and they wanted them out of that certain neighborhood. That's for a fact what happened. Now, crack epidemic. More people died, or very equivalent numbers that died of that, but that was a racial problem. No, war on drugs, just say no. When a bunch of upper class to, middle class to upper class white kids and people start getting addicted to opiates and are dying, now it's an epidemic.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do you think that feels to all these people before us that have come before us, before it was the opiate epidemic, that have gone through, recovery from crack cocaine? They're a person of color. They live in inner city. And now a bunch of white people are dying and they're like, "Ooh, yay, let's get excited about recovery." They're like, "Fuck you."
Man.
So we need to address that and make these allies within our communities. Because if we can do this as a community, there's a we in recovery. If we can work together and be allies to each other and create an us as a recovery community for social justice reform, imagine what social justice reform in the United States would look like. There are 40,000 people in the United States that have been diagnosed with a substance use disorder. 27 million of them are in recovery. Okay? Hey, we get the same message. That's a huge platform. That's a huge caucus. Mm-hmm. And if we say we demand a social justice reform because we see what racism, we've seen what genderism, sexism, all of this has happened in our communities, and we've changed it. Hey, now let's talk about this to make actual change, not just actual change, but bigger change at a bigger level when it comes to things that are outside of the systems of care, like incarceration.
I reached out to this woman who, I guess she's going to be running for governor, and she got backing from some congressman or something, but I just kind of hit her up one day and her little campaign or whatever, and it was like, "Hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, and these are some of the problems." And jail was one of them I mentioned, and I said, "I'm free to talk whenever your camp wants to," and she didn't even write me back, so I was like, okay, good luck.
So just because you try once, you keep on doing it. You Andy Dufresne that shit.
Yeah.
You keep writing the letters until the fucking library happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, then now I need to write 2 a week then, huh?
Yeah.
Or 2 a day, whatever it was he said. But yeah, and, but she's just running, and I'm like, man, it seems like she would want to grab all that she can, early on to get some momentum going. But I don't know. Maybe she's got her own thing going, and maybe she's part of those people that don't care, because there are people out there too that are like that it's just, that's not who they're getting the money from.
Yeah. And it needs to be part of a platform for any politician, I believe. Even Trump used it. Mm-hmm. And so when he was going to New Hampshire, and they talked about this in, there was one workshop that was advocacy at the local, state, and federal level. They were talking about New Hampshire because a lot of the people that were on this panel had connections with New Hampshire or lived in New Hampshire or whatever. It's it's that New England. So they were talking about when Trump came in 2016 for the primary, and he was educated. I read this part in Rolling Stone magazine. Somebody came and says, "You need to address the opioid epidemic," and he's like, "Well, what's that?" And they explained it to him. Trump's brother's has had addiction issues.
He died from alcoholism.
Yeah, alcohol use disorder. Mm-hmm. So, and so he affected, Donald Trump says he doesn't drink. So he doesn't drink alcohol. Okay. That's how passionate he is about that. That's what he reports, I should say. Yeah. So when he went to New Hampshire, and it was talked about like, okay, this opioid epidemic, but he came in talking about, with the platform about, we're going to change, business first, blah, 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 blah. And in that town hall meeting that he came to, everybody in that group was like, no, what are you going to do about the opioid epidemic? What are you going to do? And he ran on part of that. And hey, whether you like the guy or not, I'm not his biggest fan, to put it nicely. He helped to allocate so much money towards the treatments of addiction throughout the country. So, that's how it is. And it was a lot of people that were saying, our voice needs to be heard. We're going to ask these questions. And if one person, it's hard with just one person. But if you do 2, you're going to have a better opportunity. If you have a community and say, we demand you to listen to us because we vote now. We're your constituents. Do you want us to vote for you? You got to come play nice with us. Again, come to our table. We invite you to come sit at our table and listen to what we have to say for once.
Because you really, really want us on your side. You do.
You do.
Because we are loyal people. We're intelligent, and we want things to be right. We know, especially from us, we are in recovery. We've walked down the road. We know there are a lot of things that need to be changed.
Yeah.
And we appreciate the fact that somebody's going to step up and help us out with that. And we are very loyal. And if you're going to do something that we want, that's going to save lives, something we're passionate about.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about putting up a soccer field, over here or over there. No, we're talking about saving lives. And the fact that we had to crawl our way out of it. Yeah. We want to make it easier for the next generation. And
at the very least, the lives of human beings that could vote for you.
Yeah. And then the messaging goes right along with that. If my nephews, and I always use them as my son one day, I want him to not feel like, oh, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a bad person. I want him to look like I have a alcohol use disorder. Hopefully he does not. But if he does, I want it to be like that. If there's like some stat, and it was amazing how much or how high it was for people who, if they go to the doctor and the doctor says, you have an alcohol use disorder, like, let's get you some help.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, it's like 83% were more likely to go get help than, hey, man, you're an alcoholic. Ooh, no, I'm not.
Why are you drinking so much? You're a dirty alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just
stop drinking.
Just changing it for
you don't want it enough.
For those, like we started even at the doctors, quit saying that I'm an alcoholic, just tell me that you can help me with my alcohol use disorder and point me in the right direction, and let's go.
And I will tell you, I know personally, Future Doctors of America. I've been doing some at a state university. I've been coming in. I'm scheduled to do 3 classes for the next year. When they do their medical assistant treatment portion, they've allocated me at least an hour to come talk about recovery and recovery supports and things like that. And because of that, there's a messaging training that's going to be coming up. At least one of those Future Doctors of America, she's in the School of Medicine, is coming to the training because she wants to know what she can do to help.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's just, again, I humanized it. I got out there. It was the cat was upset because I had to move Luna.
Sorry. I thought she was back in your, I thought she was like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's too loud, Luna. You've been kicked off the show.
Yes.
Yeah. So, the recovery conference was amazing. There's one in May in Colorado Springs for this year, for 2022. There are scholarships out there available. I don't, look them up if you can't afford to go. But I really feel that once in a person's, in their part of the recovery journey, if you are an advocate, if you work in this field, I think it's important that you get to experience what being in a room full of recovery looks like. Instead of being that minority in a room full of professionals, then you might be like the 10% that's in recovery. Or at least the 10% that is out loud with their recovery. Mm-hmm.
Colorado Springs, though. Oh, no. That's one city.
I think one thing that I was hearing was, people listen when there's passion and sincerity. And you cannot find any other people that are more passionate and sincere when it comes to people that believe in recovery, because they are an example of that it can be done and that life is good and things can change. And it's not easy, and we need help. Yeah. Where are we going to get that help? And we need help getting help. And, it goes on, but that's when people will listen is, when people are believe in what they're saying.
Yeah. And, and there is the thing, too, about the recovery community. I think I can say with a good authority that at least the 3 of us in here, we had a change for our recovery, for our survival, and for our recovery to be not just about surviving, but thriving as human beings. So it goes down this line, like you can't give away what you don't have. We're talking about change. We know individually what change feels like and what positivity can come from that. If we're willing as individuals to be like, we're going to go through this change process. And then we're like, we changed. That shit was hard, man, but we did it. Let's get together and start change more. Mm-hmm. People that have been able to do these things themselves have a much better success rate when they're asking other people to do it because, again, lived experience.
Absolutely.
It's very important. I have to say I'm very proud of my community. I'm very proud of my recovery community, our recovery community, because it's just not mine, it's ours. And again, it goes back to that network is your net worth. Our networks that we have is the net worth of the quality that we can provide of care. And that was the best part about being in here. There was down in Florida, there was no gatekeepers. Well, no, you can't have my card. No, I won't do this for you. No, I'm not going to tell you this. It was, again, you are a resource. You are important. We want to share this because it's not about my ego. It's not about you have to respect me or this. No, it's not about that. It's like, hey, what can I do to help again with the movement, brother, sister? What do we have to do together? Well, how can I help you in what you're trying? And hey, and could you possibly help me do this? We're awesome. We're so beautiful. We do all the things. All the things happen to us because we're magic.
Nice. Yeah.
That's my Pollyanna of it.
Well, I'm glad that we had a chance to have you on and you didn't blow us off this time.
I didn't.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and you really should check out those 217 guys.
Yeah, I will.
I think the guy's name is Tony Mayfield.
Close. No, and we'll have to get you some 217 recovery gear when you leave.
I would love that.
Can have my face on it some more.
Yay.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know at home that this is Corey Winfield from 217 Recovery. I'm just giving him a hard time. Right. To our viewers at home. I don't want to confuse you.
Yeah. We know.
What is that supposed to mean?
Crickets.
Yeah. I would have hit the laughter button.
Oh.
I think it's funny that I can't hear the sound when he does the sound effects because I'm so used to being you. You're like, what is that? And I'm like, he probably just played crickets.
Yeah, that's awesome. You shouldn't have to hear it to know what he's going to do.
Had a couple Tyrone's
I know
in there. So
yeah.
But cool. Well, thanks for stopping by, Laura.
Thank you so much, Corey and Marnie, for welcoming me into your studio and just. You guys are badass recovery warriors, and I'm so excited that we're on the same team.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for saying that. We appreciate it. We think
but
you're
I
pretty
would
badass.
kill you if we were on opposite teams.
Whoa. The kitty chimed in on that one.
Yeah, she's like, yes, J-Well.
Cool.
We're going to take it over, aren't we, Luna? Yes, we are. Oh, yes, you are.
With the kitty talk, we're going to go ahead and say thanks, Laura, for coming by.
Oh, shit, that was out of here.
Yeah, we're gonna take off now. We got other things to do.
Again, thank you,
kitty
everybody
talk.
at home that's listening or viewing their phone while they're listening, and to Corey and Marnie. I'm really. It's been an honor to watch you guys individually and together, personally and professionally, and I'm just really humbled to be asked to be part of this and to call you guys friends. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. And we do appreciate you coming by, and you have great things to say, and we love listening to you. So.
Awesome things to say.
I like to talk.
Yeah, well,
We love it.
Maybe there's a role someday coming up soon that who knows? It'd be good. Yeah. Keep listening. Details coming soon.
Yeah.
But thanks again, Laura, and we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Peace.
Everyone have a good night.
Thanks for listening to the 217 Recovery Podcast. For more episodes plus bonus features, download the 217 Recovery app and support recovery by rating us in the App Store.